Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing the moment your ex realizes you've gone. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing the moment your ex realizes you've gone. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you have two choices. You can keep pursuing your dumper, or you can walk away. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 points to consider about the moment your ex realizes you've gone. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is it's never too late. So you might be listening to this as a dumpee and thinking, I want to try and get my ex back, I want to improve my chances, but I've been pursuing my ex for not days, not weeks, not even months necessarily. Maybe I've been pursuing my dumper for more than a year. What's the point? I can't change my plan now. That would be ridiculous. I've just got to keep doing what I've been doing, and hopefully my ex-dumper will come round. Maybe as a dumpee, you've started to build a platonic friendship with your ex, and now you're thinking to yourself, well, I need to stick with this game plan because hopefully they will change their mind and see me as a romantic option. Well, listen, from my experience and research, it is never too late to quote-unquote walk away. Now, we want to increase the chance of you getting your ex back. We want to increase the chance of them seeing you as a romantic option. And touching on what I just said a moment ago, if you've built a platonic friendship with your ex-dumper, they are very unlikely to see you as a romantic option going forward. To escape the friend zone is very hard. It's not necessarily impossible, but it's probably as close to impossible as can be. So you need to be considering what you can do to increase your chance of success and continuing on that path of platonic friendship, or maybe just pursuing, texting, calling, knocking on their door, being part of their life, being in their orbit. Even if you don't really have a friendship and you're still going and you're still doing this, this is unlikely to help you. If anything, it's going to really damage your chances of not just getting your ex back, but being in their life forevermore, because I would suggest that if you are overly pursuing, the likelihood is at some stage you might get blocked. You might get in a lot of trouble. If your ex is telling you, hey, please stop contacting me, and you continue to do so, that is not going to end well. So whether or not you see yourself as being in a platonic friendship, and yes, my dumper is fine with my contact, we still see each other in a platonic way. Whether you see yourself in that regard, or if you see yourself as, look, I know my ex doesn't want me to contact them, but I can't help myself. I keep reaching out. I'm just going to keep going and seeing what I can do here. Whichever one of those options that you see matches yourself best in, neither is going to likely lead you to reconnection in a romantic relationship. Neither is going to be the thing you need to do to get your ex back. And this is why point number 1 is so important, because it's never too late to walk away. It's never too late to say to yourself, right, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm never going to contact my ex again unless they contact me first. Now, that is a baseline principle of my version of a no contact rule, which is something that lots of people suggest you implement if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back. My version of a rule differs somewhat for some of the other versions that you can find online, but the base principle of it is, as a dumpee, you never contact your ex again unless they contact you first, unless you fit into some of the caveats of the rule, which is very much bespoke to your unique situation. So for instance, if you have children with your ex, you can't be behaving in a way where you never contact them again unless they contact you first, because you might need to be speaking about your child. Okay, that is just one example of where that rule wouldn't fit necessarily with your specifics. But by and large, that is what you need to be doing. And it's never too late to start. Whether you think, well, I can't really do this now, I've got a friendship. Yes, you can do that. I'm not suggesting you just ghost your dumper, because even though they've dumped you, even though they've treated you in a bad way, even though you've got this friendship back and you might think, well, actually, I can just disappear. No, I wouldn't do it like that, but you certainly can walk away. You can have a conversation if you are seeing each other somewhat regularly and say, hey, I can't do this anymore. I just need to let you know, I'll always see you as more than a friend. And if you want to speak with me about this, then you know where I am. Just contact me. But I can't do this anymore. I can't do this active platonic friendship anymore. It's not working for me. So you know where I am if you want to have a conversation about this. And that should just lay the foundations of where your expert dumper will understand that if they do want to spend time with you, this is going to have to be in a different way to what has happened so far. I wouldn't necessarily say to them, unless you want me back, contact me, because that adds a lot of pressure. And when you think about it, people don't know if they want to reconnect instantly. They might have that feeling, they might have that pull, but they don't know instantly. So I wouldn't necessarily say, hey, only contact me if you want to get back right then, right now, right at that time. But it won't happen like that. But if you just speak in the way that I suggested, they will read between the lines. They will see that you don't want that platonic friendship. They will see that what you're saying is, if they are almost thinking about things in a different way, to reach out and to contact you. Now, if you aren't platonic friends, well, this is where you really can just walk away. You don't have to give an explanation in that regard. You don't need to say, hey, just to let you know, I've been texting you every few weeks for the last year, even though you didn't want it, just to let you know, I'm not going to do that anymore. So this is my last text. No, don't do that. If that is your situation, you walk away now. You stop now. You never contact your ex again unless they contact you first. Again, unless you fit into some of the caveats of the rule. I don't know your specifics. Unless we speak on my audio coaching service, I don't know. So I'm going to have to just speak to you in a generalized way in today's podcast. But just remember, it's never too late to start. It's never too late to try and generate that moment when your ex realizes that you've gone. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you have a new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is the moment is different for you and them. So today we're speaking about that moment when your ex realizes that you've gone. And point number 2 is important to understand because the moment is different for you than it is for them. And when I'm saying this, I'm meaning the actual timestamp, so to speak, of when that moment is. We're talking about how your expert dumper will feel, so to speak, when that moment takes place. But when is that moment? So for you, as the dumpee, that moment will come much sooner than your expert dumper. Let me explain. You will make the decision of when you are quote-unquote walking away. You will make the decision of when you are quote-unquote done with what you have done so far, and you're now going to try a new technique, which is probably going to fall into that category of never contacting your ex again unless they contact you first. So when you make that decision, you as a dumpee are going to see this as the moment. You've gone. In your mind, you've probably thought about this for a while. You've made this decision. You've decided to step back. You're no longer going to contact your expert dumper. In that point in time, that is the moment. For you, you have done it. So this is the moment. I've walked away. But you've got to realise your dumper doesn't realise that you have hit that moment in your mind. Just because you've made the decision, you won't ever contact them again unless they reach out first. They don't know that. So even if you are thinking to yourself, well, ordinarily, I would have probably texted my ex today because I was really feeling like it, but I haven't. So there is that moment. I've hit that moment. I wanted to reach out, but I didn't. That's the moment. Remember, your expert dumper can't read your mind. They're not in your head. They don't know you were about to reach out, but you then didn't. The only point in time that your expert dumper will recognise that you have walked away, well, that is going to be much further down the line. It's going to be much later. It could be months and months and months later. Just because you would ordinarily reach out to your dumper once a week. If it gets past that week, will your ex really, that you've gone down your own path? Okay, maybe they might somewhat acknowledge, okay, my dumpee hasn't reached out to me this Saturday. They seem to normally reach out to me every Saturday. No, just because you haven't done it on that Saturday doesn't mean they're going to feel that moment. That's going to take a lot longer. It could be weeks, it most likely will be months before your dumper really feels it. It's actually important to add that initially, if they notice you are no longer pursuing them, they might breathe a sigh of relief. So although they might notice somewhat that you are no longer chasing them, they might, instead of feeling the moment, they'll actually begin, oh, okay, finally my dumpee has stopped chasing me. I didn't want them to, and thank goodness they've now stopped doing it. That is what they might feel initially. For them to hit that real moment, or when they realise that you've gone, well, that's going to be further down the line. I would suggest it could be 6 months or so. It might be a little sooner, but that is when they are likely to really have that moment, or where they feel that you've gone, because it hits them. They think, wait a minute, my dumpee really seems to have vanished from my life. What are they doing right now? And what are they doing with their life if they're not reaching out to me? I'm living my life. They're clearly doing something else which is no longer chasing me. What is it? That is when they will feel that. That is when they'll hit that moment. So just remember with point number 2, that the moment is different for you than it is for them when we're considering the timestamp of when that moment actually takes place. In your mind, you will know when you've done, you will know when you've gone, you will know when you've walked away, but for them, they will need to take a lot longer to really feel it, appreciate it, and understand it's authentic. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website, www.dateme.tips, for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the build-up of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is it hits hard. So finally we've got to that moment where your ex-dumper realises this really is happening. My dumpee has vanished. Where are they? They've gone. When this takes place, whenever this is, this will hit your dumper hard. It doesn't matter whatever your ex-dumper is doing within their own life. It just matters that when it hits them, it hits hard, it hits good, it hits powerful. They will realise that you've gone, and they will understand that the safety net they'd lived and believed would always be there is no longer there, it's gone. The safety net has been removed. You have removed yourself from their life. You've removed yourself from their orbit. And even though they probably didn't enjoy your chasing, they didn't enjoy your pursuing, they did come to expect it, and they did start to feel subconsciously that you were there for them. And if something went wrong in their life, well, they can just turn back and go to you. But guess what? You've gone now. You are no longer going to be that safety net. Similarly, if you were in an active platonic friendship, maybe they offered you friendship, you decided to decline it, maybe you'd been accepting it for a while, but then you decided to say, no, thank you, I can't do this. When they hit that point where they really feel that you've gone, this is when they're going to be thinking, okay, I really miss my dumpee. In many ways, I knew I was going to miss the platonic friendship angle because that is why I asked for them to continue that. But now I'm starting to wonder about them in different ways. So this is where it all comes together. Now your ex-dumper ended your relationship, unfortunately, because they lost romantic emotional attraction for you. If you want your ex back, the only way to do this is to regrow that level of attraction in their mind. It has to hit the necessary high point for them to want to reach out to you and for potential reconnection to take place. And this can only happen if they wonder about you, if they think about you, If they miss you, this is when it takes place. This is when you can take that step forward for them to hopefully reach out to you and start to rebuild things through the communication stage. This can only happen if you leave their orbit. They can only miss you if you're no longer in their life. And that's why it's so important to live your life in a way where you concentrate on you and not them. Now, what they thought about you is wrong. They thought that you would always be there. They didn't necessarily want you to be chasing them, as I've already said, but they expected you to be there as their safety net. When you remove that safety net, you showed that they don't actually know you. They don't actually know every single thing about you, because previous to that, they did. Your ex-dumper thought they knew your every move. They thought they knew what you do on a Monday to Sunday, every day of the week, every hour almost. They could probably predict what you would be doing. But you've just proved them wrong. You've proved that they don't really know you anymore. So what does that mean? Well, if you behave in a way where they don't know you anymore, this means that everything might have changed. The things that you did within the relationship, which they didn't feel resonated with them, whether it annoyed them, whether it was something that just didn't fit lifestyle-wise, we're now going to be thinking, well, if my dumpee is living a different life to what I predicted, maybe they've changed in other ways as well. And that's the point here, dumpees. We want your ex-dumper to be second-guessing what you were doing with your life. And if you remove the safety net, if you walk away, if they start to genuinely believe you have gone, you have proven them wrong. And if they are wrong about this, they could be wrong about you in other ways. You could have changed, you could have grown, you could become more attractive in every single way. And this is how you can regrow that level of romantic emotional attraction in their mind, because it's going to hit them hard. If they think, oh wait, I was wrong about my dumpee. Maybe I was wrong about everything. Maybe they are actually my best romantic option.